Welcome to all, and thank you, Albie, for that wonderful introductory music. We gather today to honor the life of Freddie Feeny. We are here as family, friends, colleagues, fellow church members, and loved ones to pay our respects, to express our grief, and to dwell together in the many memories that still give us joy. Thank you for being here today. I say thank you on behalf of the Feeny family and also on behalf of this church. I am Pastor Jen Fredrika, and I serve as the pastor of Community of Hope, UCC. Community of Hope is a church that is in ecumenical partnership with Advent Lutheran. Together we make up Madison Christian Community. We hope that you all feel very comfortable here. Freddie Feeny leaves a large footprint in this place. As a founding member, or as an early member of Community of Hope, the signs of her visionary thinking and commitment to equality continue to echo in the living culture of this place. Freddie is a giant upon whose shoulders we stand. She was a woman of courage, kindness, and she was deeply faithful to her community and to her loved ones. Today we will share music and stories that reflect the beauty of Freddie's life and her ongoing impact in our lives. A few comments about the service and this space. During the service today, we'll have some open time to share stories about Freddie. You're welcome to come up to the lectern at that time and share a memory with the congregation. As just a matter of course, I always like to remind folks that to keep remarks brief so that we have enough time for everyone to share. And if there ends up not being enough time for everyone, we can open up a mic later during the reception to share more stories. After the service concludes, there will be light refreshments provided, and you'll be able to find seating in our common area just out those doors and in our other sanctuary. We have multiple bathrooms. A men's and women's are kind of in that general direction. We have a single stall bathroom that is towards the kitchen, kind of right around on the other side. And there are additional single stall bathrooms that are on our lower level. If you need time to take a breather, you're welcome to go down to our lower level. There's couches and rooms to pray, meditate, just take a breath. And you can also walk our grounds where we have a labyrinth, a memorial garden, and prairies. Today, if you happen to have brought any memorial gifts in Freddie's name, there was a basket out at the Welcome Center. I believe some envelopes have also been brought here in the sanctuary. Memorial gifts you're invited to write them for either Community of Hope UCC or Aldo Leopold Nature Center. If you brought cash with you today and you don't mark it any other way, we'll just split the money half and half between the two organizations. I think that is all I have to get us started. So thank you again for being here today. I know it means so much to the Feeny family. So I'd like to continue with prayer. In this time of prayer, I'm going to share a blessing written by John O'Donohue with some of my own adaptations. Dearest Freddie, though we need to weep your loss, you dwell in that safe place in our hearts where no storm or night or pain can reach you. Your love was like the dawn, brightening over our lives, awakening beneath the dark, a further adventure of color. The sound of your confident voice found for us a new music that brightened everything. Whatever you enfolded in your gaze quickened in the joy of its being. You placed smiles like flowers on the altar of the heart. Your mind always sparkled with wonder at things. Though your days here were ultimately brief, your spirit was live, awake, complete. We look towards each other no longer from the old distance of our names. Now you dwell inside the rhythm of breath, as close to us as we are to ourselves. Though we cannot see you with outward eyes, we know our soul's gaze is upon your face, smiling back at us from within everything to which we bring our best refinement. Let us not look for you only in memory, where we would grow lonely without you. You would want us to find you in presence, beside us when beauty brightens, when kindness glows, and music echoes eternal tones. When orchids brighten the earth, darkest winter has turned to spring. May this dark grief flower with hope in every heart that loves you. May you continue to inspire us, to enter each day with a generous heart, to serve the call of courage and love until we see your beautiful face again in that land where there is no more separation, where all tears will be wiped from our mind, and where we will never lose you again. May the one you call beloved hold you and keep you in eternal peace. Amen.
I'll be singing a piece in Finnish called Tulun Tunto, which is to feel the wind. Grandma is very proud of her Finnish heritage. Kun tulau tulinen ilma, huudan tulta turvakseni. Huudan tulta turvakseni. Villejä vima vierelleni. Niin tulau tulinen ilma, huudan tulta turvakseni. Mielen mustan muuttajaksi, synkän syömen sytytäjäk. Sikanna kaihoista syöntäin, syksyisen ysyliin. Kanna kaihoista syöntäin, syksyisen ysyliin. Nyt on minulla mielessäni mennä tulta tuntemahan. Jokon tullut taivaasta, päältä pilvien puonut. Kanna kaihoista syöntäin, syksyisen ysyliin. Kanna kaihoista syöntäin, syksyisen ysyliin. Pois on mennyt minun osani, kateissa kottaloni. Tuntemassa tulen teitä, tulen tuiman tietävissä. Kanna kaihoista syöntäin, syksyisen ysyliin. Ylhäällä taivaasessa täti tarhojen tasalle. Kanna kaihoista syöntäin, Sixisen insulihin Illahalataivosessa Tatitar hoyenda sale.
I'm Elizabeth, Freddie's daughter. In 1989, my parents and my grandparents went to Finland, where they met many of the Finnish relatives, including Mom's second cousin, Pertti. And Pertti and I still email back and forth a lot. He sent me a Finnish song that is often played at Finnish funerals and such. It's called Niin kaunis on maa, or So Beautiful is the Land. It's composed by Kari Reidman. I'm just going to read one verse that I think is beautiful. So beautiful is the land, so high is the sky, the blooming land with the song of birds, and the shady waters, so shady waters. The sun sets, the shadows are already lengthening. It is time for separation and farewell. The dearest friend is gone.
I am Ed, one of Freddie's sons, and we're going to be reading We Remember Them. It's a call and response, so I'll say a line, and then we get to say We Remember Them all together. At the rising sun and at its going down, we remember them. At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. At the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of the autumn, we remember them. At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now part of us as we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember them. When we have joy we crave to share, we remember them. When we have achievements that are based on theirs, we remember them. For as long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us. We remember them.
For as long as we live, we will remember Freddie. This is an easy thing to do in this case, for Freddie was a memorable person. Freddie was creative and talented, nature-loving, deeply spiritual, and a quietly powerful person. She was a woman of love and commitment, dedicated to her family, her church, and her principles. And for her life and her spirit, we are immensely grateful. I met Freddie 4 years ago when I became the pastor at this church, unfortunately when she was well into her years with dementia. But Freddie nevertheless managed to make an impression on me, and I can sense just how large are the footprints that she left behind. Freddie was deeply entwined in the life of this church community. Though not a founding member, she and Bill were very early members of Community of Hope, and both were deeply involved in the community and helped make it what it is. Freddie's commitment to gender equality is, of course, no secret, and I've had it told to me that when she and Bill first moved to Madison, they attended a more conservative church in town. Well, Freddie was a feminist, and the pastor at that church, not so much. So Freddie and Bill instead found their home here at Community of Hope, and Freddie's commitment to gender equality not only found welcome here, but continued to shape this congregation as it is today. As an example, when I first came on as pastor, I was informed that I was to avoid the word Lord, as it is a male-centric word. While I wholeheartedly agreed that gender-neutral language for God was important for this congregation, I found the additional restriction avoiding the word Lord to be particularly challenging, specifically in the realm of picking hymns. Some of the best hymns out there use the word Lord, and it's part of the rhyming scheme. Couldn't just easily trade it out. What's a pastor to do? But it simply underscored Freddie's and others' radical commitment to equality and to lifting up women's voices and leadership in the religious space. From what I've heard, Freddie was a deeply spiritual person. And one of the ways that showed was in her love for reading scripture. As one of her friends shared with me, her love of scripture and her passion for gender equality may have actually had some overlap. Freddie liked to read scripture because it then offered her the opportunity to change the language if it was too old school or had too many male pronouns for God. But I suspect her love of scripture went beyond just tinkering with the language. Even after dementia made it difficult for her to keep track of where we were in the worship service, Freddie still signed up to be a volunteer reader. Once she got to that lectern and began reading, I found myself repeatedly impressed with the clarity and the beauty of her voice and her command of the room. She had a real talent for making words come alive and sound beautiful. Freddie was not afraid to go against the grain and make her faith her own. Instead of the word God, she preferred the word beloved. Beloved much better represented the kind of relationship that she felt she had with the sacred, one not based on power dynamics, but on a relationship of love. Freddie's contribution to the church wasn't only in the realm of worship. With her accounting background, she took on the thankless job of being the church's treasurer, a role she did with fidelity and acumen over the many years. Needless to say, Freddie shaped this place that she loved immensely, and her spirit lives on in our memories and in just the very fabric of who we are. A friend of Freddie's told me that Freddie did not see herself as a caretaker, but in fact, she cared for and her loved ones passionately and was there for those who needed her. She was a loving daughter, a dedicated wife and life partner, a caring mother, a doting grandmother, and a loyal friend. She gave her time to that which she loved most: family, friends, nature, church, and her creative outlets. Freddie was a person of many characteristics. She was gentle and kind, and yet the kind of woman I've been told you don't want to cross. She was creative, yet deeply practical, quite passionate and opinionated, and yet mild-mannered. And she left an imprint on our hearts. These are the things that we will remember about Freddie. And to the beloved, we give great thanks.
I'm just a poor wayfaring stranger. Oh, God. Give me a sec here. Sleeves in the way. Strap. I don't need the strap, I don't think. Okay.
I don't know if this is going to help or not.
I don't think it's gonna. All right. I'm just a poor wayfaring stranger. I'm traveling through this world of woe. There's no sickness, no toil or danger in that fair land to which I go. I'm going there to see my father. He said I'd better look him up. I'm just a going over yonder. I'm just a going over home. I know dark clouds can mass around me. I know my pathway is rough and steep, yet beautiful fields splay out before me. It's where the birdies and the squirrels like to sleep. I'm going there to see my mommy. I'm going there no more to roam. I'm just a going way over yonder. I'm on my journey back to home. Sorry, that was kind of crude, but yeah. Wasn't really prepared. Thanks, Ed.
Hi, I'm Grace. I'm one of Freddie's granddaughters. And I just wanted to write something for her because she, as many of you know, loved to write. She wrote all the time, and she really loved to share her writing. I know she shared it here as well as in her writing group. I do not love to share my writing, but I do love my grandma, so here we are. In no particular order, these are some of the things that I loved about her, one of which has already been brought up, that in every reference to God in her house had a Post-it over it that changed the pronoun he to she, and I think about that all the time. That house, which was awesome, also had a room of her own. I love that she called it a room of her own, and when we were kids and we ran wild across that house, I still only saw the inside of that room maybe like one time. I love that when she used to drive me places, she would plan her entire route around never having to make a left turn. And I love her compassion for animals. I loved the family of raccoons that she fed on her deck. I love seeing that compassion reflected in my family, in my father, in my aunt, and my uncles, and my cousins, my sister, and in myself. In many ways, my view of her will always be childlike because Grandma is almost a mythical figure, and she was good at being a grandma. I wish I could have been friends with 30-year-old Freddie because maybe then I could have convinced her to get a tattoo, but maybe not. The last time I saw her, she remembered that I was her granddaughter, which felt like such a gift, one that I will hold on to as she continues on her journey, wherever that may take her. Thank you.
Apologies here. It's not open where I thought it was. Okay. Yeah, so I'm Brian, one of the sons. And these are just some reflections from the perspective of being my mom's son, or my mom being my mom, really. Well, I think when you think about your parents, you probably think of good things and the bad things, right? Well, she had both. I think she had, I'm happy that she had more good things, but a few of the bad things were a little bit traumatic, like this ability she had to holler with her eyes. It was piercing. And then another thing was when she was annoyed about something, we're bickering or our rooms are messy or something like that, she'd get to a point where she'd just blow up and her voice would like transcend this world and go to the next. And it was like almost like a horror movie kind of a voice. And it was just, and it was I would say it was traumatic, but I think over time we got over it, I hope. But a lot of good, as you've heard already, all the rest is good. And primarily that she and my dad provided a loving home for us. And some of the positive influences actually have already been mentioned. I think for me, it was her spiritual philosophy and awareness really shaped my spiritual outlook a lot. She was, she had a nice mix of, Christianity, obviously, but other ideas, Native American things, maybe some ancient religion kind of things, as long as they weren't like contradictory or whatever. And she was open and inclusive to the thoughts and ideas from other cultures. She loved nature. She, in fact, instilled upon us a love and appreciation for nature, living creatures, animals, plants. And we always had these bird books and plant identification, pond life, and things like that to keep inspiring us, to investigate and let our wonders go. We also had this Time Life series of Book and Nature. I think Bill has custody of that, and it had great books, fish, primates, insects, early man, space exploration, and these things, I just look at the pictures because I was like maybe too young to read, but it really inspired my fascination and wonder about such things. She also had a way of encouraging, sometimes discouraging, but encouraging. She encouraged me well in math by just giving me positive feedback. She said, I'm good at it, okay. And then she also had this story which actually inspired me. When she came to the UW when we moved from Connecticut, she kind of wanted to major in astronomy, but the counselor said, no, you can't major in astronomy because you haven't had calculus. She told me that story, and I thought, astronomy's cool, and I gotta have calculus? I wanna learn calculus. So I was really inspired by that story to pursue those things, and it really helped my career trajectory, actually. So, yeah, and other things she inflected on us, being yourself, giving everyone a chance. She used to say, if there's a person that other people don't like, don't dislike them. Find out about who they are before you decide whether you are, going to be receptive to that person or whatever. So, yeah. Yeah, other things, she was a great cook. It was not her pursuit, but I loved her cooking. She was crafty. She made a flying suit for Bill, I guess, and we all got to wear it, and she made the Halloween costumes. One of them backfired, though, because one of them was made on pictures of bones on long underwear, and I wore that to school, and some kid realized, you're wearing long underwear, and that was like, I was the joke of the class that day. But it was good, that she did those things. She made a Batman costume for Ed, and I was Robin. Ed was Batman. But I remember seeing sewing templates, and we had a sewing machine and knitting projects and things like that. In more recent years, it was more about, she explored painting and writing and stuff. So she had a really nice creative viewpoint. In recent years, we've talked about her losing her memory a bit in dementia. I realized I wanted to thank her for being, a wonderful mom. And I also realized that maybe it's too late because her memory's failing. I'll tell her that now, and tomorrow she won't remember that, or in 10 minutes or whatever. So I just hope somehow, her energy and spirit is with us today, and she can, hear me say, I love you, Mom, and thank you for being my mom, and I'm really grateful to have been born to you and Tad and to be part of your family and for having you to raise me. Thank you very much.
So now we'll have some time for folks to come up. I think we've got about 15 minutes or so. If you want to share a story, just feel free to pop up and come share some words. And again, just a reminder, be cognizant of others and others wanting to come up too. Once we get to that 15-minute mark, I'll move us along to the next part of the program.
Hi, I'm Susie. I'm married to Freddie's son, Ed. It's been a couple months since she passed, and I haven't really cried. It's cry a little, I guess. So I met Freddie. When I was maybe 15 years old, and gosh, I was kind of an irresponsible dog owner. And I had this dog, and I really wanted to go on this trip. And I was kind of famous for just leaving my dog at my house, which wasn't going to fly that time. So I had this new friend at in high school that year, Ed Feeny, and I kind of asked him if he would take care of my dog, and so he's like, sure, and so I went over to drop my very naughty, undisciplined dog off at their house, and I met Freddie, and I remember her talking about it afterwards. It was gone for maybe about 4 days, and she was completely like sure, she was cool about it, I think. And she kept talking when I got back about, just jumped right over the couch when the doorbell rang. But she was so good natured about it, and I don't think that any of us really dreamed that a few years later, like maybe 12 years later, I would be her daughter-in-law, and she was a really fantastic mother-in-law, and she was pretty opinionated. I'm pretty opinionated. I think we butted heads sometimes, but overall, she was so supportive and so wonderful and so great to my kids and her kids, and really gonna miss her.
Hi, I'm Pat. Freddie was my cousin, and we had such a good relationship. She was an only child, and I was with two older brothers. So I kind of adopted her as an older sister, cousin. We had such a special relationship. And she was 12 years older than me, and Elizabeth was 12 years younger than me. So I was kind of caught up with the family of Feenys. She was such a good reader, such an educated person, such a kind person. And I really miss some of the times that we were separated. We lived in upstate New York. She was out in Connecticut and then in Wisconsin. But I'm really gonna miss her. She was such an important part of how I raised my children. She raised 4 wonderful kids. And it was a big help when I had 4 kids. And they're really doing good. So I will miss her a lot.
I'm Phil Blado. I'm a 55-year member of this Church of Community of Hope. And so I predate Freddie's arrival and Bill's arrival. And we were friends on canoe trips and in church activities. And I always looked up to those short people. Come on. Come on. I used to be 5'11", okay? For the past 15 years or so, Freddie and I and Candy, and Bill wasn't there, but Lucetta and Howard were, and Tom and Joan, we would lunch together every Tuesday as long as this up-the-road version of, tell me the name, Candy. Nitty Gritty. As long as Nitty Gritty has been there, we've been lunching there every Tuesday. And one thing we got from Freddie was just coffee. Coffee, black coffee, nothing in it but coffee. She liked her coffee. One story I'll tell you is that when we used to be on canoe trips, Freddie already liked her coffee. And if it got to be noon and we were still paddling and there was no fire to make coffee, she would get a little bit antsy. And so Bill finally started bringing chocolate-covered coffee beans. Smart man. Freddie helped me to become a feminist. Freddie set the tone for affirmative language and equity and balance in the language, and I'll be forever in her debt for that.
I'm Nolan, one of Freddie's grandsons, and I think the last time I was in this church for a funeral was almost 20 years ago for Grandpa's. And I think I was maybe 9 years old at the time. It was my first experience with death. And I just remembered how much that impacted Freddie at that time, and that like took I don't know, it just stayed with me. And I just really admired the way that she like kept thriving and pushing on with life and getting through that time and really making another 20 meaningful years. So deeply proud of her and admired her for that. Also the way that she continued to talk about Grandpa and remember him. So I like to think that now she's in a place where she can be reunited with, and they can be together.
So I'm Lucas. I'm also one of the grandchildren. I actually wasn't planning on speaking, but a few people have made comments about the use of language and the changing the pronouns in prayers and stuff like that. And Grace commented on the prayer hanging on the wall at their old place with the sticky note, the post-it note replacing the word his with her. And something about God holding you in the palm of her hands. And I just wanted to share, I guess, that I told that story to my wife, who unfortunately couldn't be here, but and then she hand-stitched me as a gift that same prayer with, with the word her. And yeah, that's in my hallway now. So that's it.
I'm Martha McCurdy, and I'm one of the members of a long-standing prayer group that Freddie belonged to. And I remember a really pivotal moment when I decided I was going to take a Buddhist path and began to meditate and kind of be with others, different way of viewing the world. And I really remember bringing this into the prayer group and kind of, I don't know if I was exactly nervous, but thinking, they might not think I'm such a good match anymore. But Freddie, she was the one that came up first and said, if you're ready to leave us, that's what matters. It's like, I feel fine. As long as you want to be here, that's what I want this group to be. And that's the way all these women have lived. With these every Friday mornings we meet. And it's just been such a blessing and support personally in my life. And you know how these groups are when we interact with each other. Things don't just stay with us, the benefit. It just ripples out to all we meet over the days. So it was such a privilege to know Freddie some and receive that grace from her.
Ed again. When Brian was speaking, something kind of came to mind that Mom had an unusual way of interrogating when we did something wrong. And I remember, my siblings are probably tired of this, and my wife, but when I was very young, she was doing laundry and I was hanging out with her, and she turned to me and she said, "Never break a promise. Breaking a promise is like breaking a spoon." And I remember at the time thinking, I didn't know breaking a spoon was really all that bad. And I kind of hung on to that for years. And as an adult, I said, "Mom, when I was a kid, you told me breaking a promise was like breaking a spoon." And she said, "I never said that." And then later, years, months, whatever, I'd ask her again. And she kept saying, "I never said that." And then one time, she told me, "Well, I found a broken spoon, and I thought you did it." I don't know, that's stuck with me all these years. It's just a very unusual way of trying to get information out of her children. But anyway.
I think we have time for maybe about 2 more folks, if there's anyone else that wants to share. All right, well, thank you to those who did, and I'm sure there will be more story sharing in the conversations you have when we have time for eating and gathering. But I'll invite Nolan to come up, and how we're going to do this is Nolan's going to play Freddie's favorite tune, Finlandia, on the cello, and then we're going to be invited to sing the song that is in the same tune. It's number 591 in the Black hymnal. It's called "This Is My Song." I've heard that Freddie requested this. Anytime we did a hymn sing service, she requested this every single time. So when you hear the piano come in, that's when you'll know it's our turn to sing. And I did do just a quick, usually this New Century hymnal is pretty good about pronouns, but I did just do a quick scan, like, do we need to change anything? And no, it looks like it should be good. So this is certainly a Freddie approved hymn.